Hello, everyone and everything, and welcome back to more Hollow Knight. In the last episode, something happened that we cannot quite explain, sending us to wherever it is we are now. All we can really do now is follow the being before us. It seems intent on fleeing screen right. Luckily, traveling screen right is something I'm very experienced in. What a terrible fate they've visited upon you, to cast you away into this space between body and soul. Will you accept their judgment and fade slowly away? Or will you take the weapon before you and cut your way out of this sad, forgotten dream? Taken the dream nail. Hold Y to charge and slash with the nail. Cut through the veil between dreams and waking. Well, that sounds cool. Ah, you've returned. Welcome back to the waking world. Those figures, those dreamers, they reached out with what little power they still have and dragged you into that hidden place. But that talisman you now wield, the dream nail, it can cut through the veil that separates the waking world from our dreams. Even the dreamers themselves cannot hide from such a weapon. Though I must admit that sacred blade has dulled over time. Together, perhaps, we can restore its power. You only have to bring me essence. Essence, the precious fragments of light that dreams are made of. Collect it wherever you find it, and bring it to me. Once we have enough, we can work wonders together. Go out into the world, Wielder. Hunt down the essence that lingers there. Collect 100 essence and return to me. I will teach you more. Well, this thing's cool. It's like a dream lightsaber. Let's see what it does to you. What are you doing? Poking around in a dusty old mind like mine. Nothing of worth is hidden inside, believe me. But keep probing the world around you with your dream nail. Hidden things will reveal themselves. With this new power, we essentially have the ability to read thoughts. Now we learn that we are in the resting grounds. And this strange tree, we've seen a couple of its kind around. But now we see what it does. It responds to the dream nail, sending out these bits of essence all around to be collected. Usually, you'll find them in large, pretty open spaces like this, where there's lots of room for the dream essence to scatter. Whoa. And once you get them all, that was not all of them, that was all of them, the dream essence will fade, and you will have your prize. The tree itself, which I believe is called a whisper root, will also grow into this form. Very cool indeed. But that's all that's going to be here in the resting grounds for us right now. If we head over here, we see a note from Cornifer. This is the one and only area in the entire game that you cannot find Cornifer himself. It will always just be one of his notes. This is also one of the only stag stations that it does not cost a thing to open up. Let's see what he has to say. The resting grounds. Passengers would come here to conduct rituals for those who have passed on. Not anymore, though. Perhaps the dead conduct their own rituals now. Perhaps indeed. I'm gonna sit on this bench just so we can fill in the map a bit. Oh, I don't have the map because Cornifer's not here to sell it to me. Well, I want to rectify that immediately. Let's head to Dirtmouth. And we have not been here in a while. Since we've been here last, we rescued Bretta. She doesn't seem to have anything to say, but if we sit next to her, Aww. That is just adorable. However, silence is a barrier we can now break through. My savior, so close. I am going to be making liberal use of that. Now, one thing that I absolutely want to buy right now is the Lumafly lantern. I've put it off long enough. I want this device. Ooh. That's such a cute noise she makes when she catches sight of you. But now for what we really came here for. The Resting Grounds map. Splendid. Absolutely wonderful. We also have a few additional pins that we can buy now that we've been to the Resting Grounds and gotten the Dream Nail. Specifically, the Whispering Root pins and the Warrior's Grave pins. I highly recommend the Whispering Root pins, personally. So I'm going to go ahead and pick those up right away. And that will point out any of them that we may otherwise miss. This house here, which will open after rescuing Bretta, has a mask shard within it. A little doll of us that it seems that she made. And a little book that she wrote. The White Savior. The maiden woke in darkness. Confused, she reached out. Sharp brambles jabbed at all sides. Burning acid bubbled close below. What nightmare had led her here? What hope of survival remained? Doomed, she thought herself. Into despair she fell. Until a light bloomed far in the distance. A bright, glowing spot fast approaching. It swept majestic about the thorns, leapt above burning waters, and dove towards the maiden. Coming close, the form revealed at last a beautiful being. Sharp horns gleamed white. Arms reached out for the damsel, gathering her up, grip firm. I've always wanted fanfiction to be written about me. Although I guess it's not really fanfiction, as it is just sort of romanticizing what actually happened. But she still refuses to speak with us for the moment. Back here in the Resting Grounds, we can see that it is a rather small area, but you can see something just beneath it. What looks like a mask with one eye. We got this indication at the very end of last episode. These masks are the dreamers we were told to seek out. The beings that have apparently been watching our progress with a sense of both dread and inevitability. But now we know where they are, and we have something of an objective, something we haven't really had properly before. Now over here, this is something sort of interesting. This is a dream. No, that's not abstract. The creature before us is literally the dream of someone who is not physically present in this world anymore. Seems his name is Zero.
Stop there. Those who try to leave the kingdom are cursed. Better to rest here until time itself sleeps. Hope and freedom. I thought that strength alone could grant me these things. In my dreams, I could cut that blade with my nails, and then I turned my weapon upon the king. When I awoke in this sacred place, I began to understand. Those who hope are already doomed. Do you still hope, wanderer? Will you flee? Or will you raise your weapon and doom us both?
This is, as it turns out, an optional boss. And I say, we fight him. Zero! More like zero difficulty. Got him. For real, Zero is our first Dream Warrior, essentially its own class of bosses. Dream Warriors are all relatively simple, only ever having 1 or 2 attacks. What sets them apart from other foes is their scaling HP, making them more capable the more you've upgraded your nail. Zero here, for instance, is going to have 320 health from me because I've upgraded my nail once, but if I'd upgraded again by now, he'd have 416, and so on. It doesn't scale perfectly. He'll still take fewer hits to take down with an upgraded nail than he would otherwise, but essentially this ensures that the warrior dreams aren't total jokes if you rock up to them fully upgraded. And, It's kind of awkward that his HP is more interesting than his attacks, or attack, rather, but here we go. Psychic Nail will see him ready one of his hovering nails, launch it directly at the knight's position, and then recall it after a moment. Honestly, the initial phase of this attack is a complete non-issue. As long as you are moving at all, you will already be dodging this attack. The only thing to actually worry about is the way the nail returns to zero. Its trajectory on its way back can be a bit tricky to predict, but it's always based on Zero's current position and, more importantly, they tend to move more vertically than horizontally. I wouldn't say there's any end-all consistent strategy for avoiding this, but simply sidestep the launch and stay aware of where Zero is for the recall. Oh, but wait, there's more! After you've reduced him to half of his HP, he'll enter his second phase, where he summons 2 more nails! That sure does look threatening. But he still only launches them one at a time, just a little bit more often, so yeah. Anyway, our plan here is simple. Our number 1 priority is to make sure we're never above his nails. Even passing over top of them is a little risky, so just wait till they've been recalled to pass them. Our number 2 priority is to stay underneath Zero. He'll constantly move all around the stage, so as long as you're chasing him, you'll basically be dodging his downward attacks automatically. But hey, his attacks can be a little random, so he can get his pot shots in. So maybe you want to know when to heal if you're supposed to always be dodging. Well, no worries there. Zero is one of those bosses that just lets you leave the arena without a fuss. Hide down here if you ever need to heal, and he won't even attack you. So this fight's almost as much of a foregone conclusion as the Vengefly King was, but hey, let's give it our all anyway. Zero can be challenged by either listening to his dialogue and accepting, or striking him with our Dream Nail. And I've already gotten hit. I was just talking up how easy this would be, and he already hit me. Something really interesting about him is that he is incredibly susceptible to knockback. Like, he will go just bouncing and flying, and he has a particularly funny interaction with the soul. Because he gets knocked back so far, he's almost guaranteed to get hit by it a second time, which I just think is funny. What it does do is it kind of makes it harder to hit him, though. Since you're always going to be knocking him back, it's pretty easy to knock him back out of your range. But that's okay. I think we've just about got him taken care of. There he goes.
Ah, I can see now. Those who turn against the king are doomed as soon as they raise their weapon. Do not call me a traitor. Simply call me a fool. I know you will not flee. Wherever you go, I will be watching.
Each warrior dream that we defeat will net us 100 essence. And that is a tidy sum. We can actually take what we've gotten from him back up to this lady, the seer. Ah, Wielder, you've returned. Let me have a look at that dream now. Already you've collected 100 essence? Quick work. Things come naturally to you, don't they? No wonder the dreamers tried to bury you in that old dream. Perhaps you frightened them. Or perhaps, being prisoners themselves, they desired your company. In any case, you still have a long way to go. Take this old trinket as encouragement from me, and return when you have collected 200 essence. Another Hallownest seal. Wonderful. We'll have to sell that to Lem whenever we're in the neighborhood again. There's also a little room over here, slightly hidden. Head over through it, and we'll get ourselves a new charm, the Dream Shield. I'm actually going to go ahead and equip that just because it looks so cool. The Dream Shield was a favorite charm of mine in my very first playthrough of the game. It provides this rotating, I guess the only thing you can really call it is a shield. It can block certain projectiles, and when it collides with enemies, it does damage to them. I found this super useful as a newer player. But that is all that I want to take care of just there. Before we carry on ahead, I want to make a quick pit stop at the Queen's Station. I haven't had a really good reason to come back here yet. But we saw, ouch, that was dumb. We saw when we were first here, goodness gracious, there's a mask shard up above here that we are now capable of getting since getting the mantis claw. Jeez Louise, that was much more difficult than I feel it had any right to be. Go ahead and purchase that. Fill ourselves up there. And now that we have a really healthy amount of geo, with nothing that I want to spend it on in the immediate future, I think it's finally time we take advantage of Millibel's services. Hello, dearie. Come to do some banking. Our maximum balance is 4,500, and that's exactly as much as I wish to put in. Goodbye then. Stay safe. She's all maxed out. We'll have to remember her for any time we come across anything else with money. As I said, there is no need for me to use that here in Steel Soul mode, but it's something I want to do anyway, and it's something I do recommend doing. You will see why eventually. Real fast before we move on, I want to take care of a few things while we're in the area. I've gone ahead and equipped the Spore Shroom that we got a couple episodes ago, and you'll see why that is in just a moment. Our first stop is actually in the very same room where we got the Spore Shroom, right down here below Queen's Station. Oh, come on. Come on, there we go. Right over here, as long as we're holding on to the Spore Shroom, there are certain things, I suppose they're stumps of mushrooms, that will glow when we get near them, and we can inspect them. This border bounds the twisting, scratching things. Their dead sire, once of honored caste, their sealed mother, but the common beast. No peace with them we make. Interesting and a bit cryptic, it seems we have some more lore to decipher. Our second stop is this room right here with the sign pointing to the Queen's Station. If we hop up this wall, we'll see something we spotted earlier but weren't able to reach without the Mantis Claw, both a door and another Wanderer's Journal. Splendid, splendid. And over here, I referred to this as a wooden egg, because that's just sort of what it looks like, but it seems it's another one of those mushroom stumps that reacts to our Spore Shroom. Warily shall we accept the will of the worm. Its prescience shields us. Fate and future we shall entwine. Also very interesting. I believe that is the first mention we've heard of the worm. We'll learn more about it as we do. I also want to point out that one of those Shroomel ogres that we got a charm notch from has respawned over here and will respawn every time we stop at a bench. He's a pretty good source of geo, too. If you're into that sort of thing, I don't know. And our final stop is right over here, just south of Leg Eater. Something really well hidden, right up here above us, only reachable with the wall jump. A more elaborate mushroom stump. Strength in the shared self. Strength in the mind united. In every bug that would pass upon our roads, only the melancholy of disparity. As with many things, there's a lot about that is up to our own interpretation, but there are some things that we can definitely glean. For one thing, it seems that the mushrooms here are sentient enough to have their own sort of society, he says as he just blatantly murders them on his way by. And some sort of civilization linked together by a shared mind that they referred to. That first one we read seemed to say that the mushrooms have no love for those of Deep Nest, especially a sort of race which lives deep within Deep Nest. And we heard a mention of the beast, the second mention of them that we know of so far. It also seems that they may have been pretty slow, or at least wary of an alliance with the people of the overall kingdom of Hallownest. Sort of happy within their own shared mind. Not sure how well that worked out for any party, but it is definitely worth thinking about.
This little creature looks tasty. I wonder, should I eat it? The others around here were awfully bland.
Let's head back to the city storerooms. And the first thing I want to do is in the room immediately to the... I keep wanting to say south, but I guess it just doesn't have as good a ring to it. We're seeing our dream shield in a little bit of action here. Speaking of dreams, you may remember we saw this root last episode. Ow! Goodness. Bad. Okay. And we have plenty to do now that we have the nail. I believe these guys' spears are not among the projectiles that can be blocked by the shield, but I could be wrong. Really, it's just kind of difficult to get the spear to line up with that sort of thing. So much to do, so much to see. Ow! That was a spectacular fall. There's something, I feel like a big part of why I loved the Dream Shield my first playthrough was that, it's just sort of mesmerizing to look at. The fact that it's both spinning around us and rotating on its own axis in that little spiral, it's just really fun to watch. I also feel I've probably overestimated the amount of damage it does in the past. That's a cool little element of it right there. It does spin faster whenever we are healing, which could block a projectile or two. Now, I do want to point out that if you leave a room with a Whisper Root after activating it, but before getting all the essence, you will not get any of the essence that you picked up. It will all be returned to the tree. So you do need to find all of the things in the room in order to get the reward permanently. But that's all pretty simple. As a completionist, I of course would never want to leave a room without getting all of them anyway. Back over by Cornifer, who's still here just humming away. I'm gonna take off that shield, and I believe I want strength for what lies ahead, because we are about to do something rather a bit difficult compared to what we've done so far. The Mark of Pride would also be helpful, but we'll get what we're coming for. Music stops here. We get accosted by a new enemy. A Soul Twister. A unique creature with homing projectiles. Welcome to the Soul Sanctum. And we're leaving it, just for the moment. Because while we're here, there's a little bit of a cracked wall right here. And just on the other side of it is Cornifer. This is a super useful shortcut to unlock. It's just going to make things feel that much more efficient. We could go up here, but unfortunately, this door is locked, and not even our simple key is enough to open it up for us. So now, back into the Soul Sanctum, and this time without interrupting the amazing music. I love a good organ. Just makes things feel so sacred. It's got that whole church feel to it. Okay, I need you to stop going up and down on this elevator, showing me things that I want over here. Okay. And just like much of the rest of the City of Tears, we've got elevators for days and unlockable doors all over the place that we need in order to get through where we're going. So let's get to it. More soul twisters around here. Ow, jeez. They are a tough enemy. I believe these little ones are called Folly. No, these are mistakes. Another twister. I love the fact that this is basically just an arrangement of the City of Tears theme. And now the main piece, which is played by either clarinet or vocals, is this organ. And the organ sounds almost electric. Record ABBA. The mind still limits us so. How to break past its constraints, to attain pure focus. Is it even possible? Well, I think that we've gotten some pretty good focus. We have powers. And this is a Soul Warrior. Ow. The Soul Warrior might be a boss
He might actually just be a stronger variety of enemy, like the Moss Knights or the Mushroom Ogres, but I'm like 99% sure that the game considers him a boss fight, so let's do this. If he is just a strong enemy, he's the only one with more than 2 attacks. He's got the Dash and Slash, the Descending Slash, and the Soul Ball. And our old enemy, Walking Forwards. The Dash and Slash is basically another lunge, with the extremely small distinction that it can be parried. But I don't know why you'd bother when jumping over his head and nail pogoing works so delightfully well. The Soul Warrior can feel a bit like fighting a single Mantis Lord, since his attacks are rather similar. But the most important distinction is that he can do multiple attacks in between teleports, so he's a little less predictable. The Descending Slash is probably the trickiest, giving you the least amount of time to dodge out of the 3, and having a decently wide hitbox on the landing slash. I'd recommend just being quick on the trigger with your dashes and getting out from beneath him as fast as you can when you see him appear above you. Now this is an attack that you can absolutely parry. The normally strict timing is super easy to judge here. If you press the button the moment he lands, you'll nail the parry window just fine. No worries if you don't want to try it though. Just stay out of the way until after he's slashed and then close in for an attack. The Soul Orb is a first for us, a homing projectile. While not particularly common among most of the game's enemies, this is absolutely the sort of attack that we want to know how to dodge consistently. Note that its turning radius is extremely wide, so you always want to get behind it and give yourself the best chance of avoiding it. After its fire, the orb will either remain on screen for a few seconds or until it hits the surface. The easiest way to get it off the field is to lure it into the ground, so basically it goes like this. Jump over the initial firing of the orb to get in an attack on the Soul Warrior, then double back underneath the orb as it makes its return to lure it into the ground. As for his variety of walking forwards, this one's actually a lot less threatening than Hornets for one major reason. He is a lot more susceptible to knockback. Generally speaking, you should only get hit by this if you're right up in his face and also for some reason not attacking him. Just to be safe though, it is smart to take a step backwards between each attack that you land on him. His AI tells him not to walk into the spot that the knight is in, but it seems like that's not a very high priority protocol for him to follow, so it can happen. As for our game plan, the Soul Warrior is simple enough that we actually have a few options. Here are the important things to know. Both his Dash and Slash and his Soul Orb are highly telegraphed, so as long as he remains on the ground, you can wail on him pretty safely. Just remember to jump every time you see him wind up or spawn on the ground, and you'll dodge these attacks no problem. His little scuttling walk can, of course, complicate things a little, but as I said, just take a step back between all of your strikes if you're worried about it. You may be thinking that since his attacks are so easy to avoid while airborne, and he has no attacks which involve him jumping or attacking above him, that nail pogoing should be our go-to strategy, and yeah, it's definitely an option. Even his Descending Slash starts higher up while we're in midair, so it's just as easy to dodge. The only caveat is that he moves around a lot, and staying on top of him can be tricky, but it could definitely be worth it. But let's just say you try it and you take a lot of undue damage. Where are you gonna heal? That's where things get difficult. He's not that fast, but he definitely attacks frequently enough that it can seem like healing's not an option. There is a window of opportunity right after he uses a Descending Slash though, as this attack tends to have the most cooldown. There's only time for one mask though, don't get greedy. Not that any of that is likely to be an issue though. With only 180 health and our newly upgraded nail, this guy's only gonna take 20 hits. So let's count him down. I honestly don't know if I count this as a boss, but the game does, so you know, there's that. Yeah, that was really easy. That's more of an enemy than a boss, but hey, you know, I'm not gonna argue with Team Cherry. They might delay Silksong again. Who knows? Actually, technically, Silksong hasn't been delayed, but it's not out yet. How many episodes are we in? I think this is episode 9. Made it 8 whole episodes without mentioning Silksong. I'm proud of myself. Ow. Traveling on upwards. I just love the feeling of being inside when it's rainy. The City of Tears is one of my favorite areas in any game. It's beautiful, the music is great, the aesthetic is fantastic, the architecture is so unique. You kind of get the sense that it's made by bugs. It's got this whole sort of hive aesthetic to it, and yet it's so ornate, so human, so sophisticated. Let's keep going on upwards. These glass jars full of soul are completely unique to the Soul Sanctum. They're sort of similar to the soul totems that we've been seeing around, but they are different in their own other ways. It's interesting. This door is blocked off. It's definitely a doorway, but it's all piled up with junk. You know, given the theme of this place, the Soul Sanctum, maybe I should try shooting it. I feel like that could do something. Nope. Alright, well, it was worth trying. Let's keep on keeping on. Another one! This is like Deep Nest all over again. Just pop up at random. Nothing there? That's okay. I know where we want to go, and that's upwards. Another shortcut. Getting back through here, should we ever need to, will be a cinch. Okay, I'm gonna heal up real fast, get to full before entering this room, because it's gonna be a bit of a challenge. These ones, the flying ones, are called follies. All right, that was not as much of a challenge as I was anticipating. No, they're still spawning. I'm not sure if these guys would take more than one hit if we didn't have Fragile Strength equipped, but I'm definitely not unequipping it. We get the Spell Twister for that. A fantastic charm. Nope, not surprising me. That one reduces the cost of our Vengeful Spirit and other spells. Not Focus, however. And I have things to say about it, but I'm going to hold those for a later time. Seems we're alone here. Or perhaps not. The Soul Master. In my humble opinion, before us is the hardest required boss in the game. Considering the point in the game new players are most likely to challenge him, his role in our critical path of upgrades, and how strong we're likely to be by this point, the Soul Master is equipped to kick our shell from here to Dirtmouth. The main thing to worry about is his mobility. He's far from the first teleporting boss, but in combination with his attacks and his ability to fly, he is very difficult to pin down, and recognizing his attack patterns is complicated by how much range most of them have. This guy has more command of his arena than anyone we've faced so far, but let's break him down and figure him out piece by piece. The Soul Orb. The Soul Pinwheel. The Dash. And the Desolate Dive. The Soul Orb's properties are completely identical to those of the Soul Warriors, pursuing our position and despawning either after a few seconds or after hitting a surface, or the night. Likewise, its main weakness is in its wide turning radius, and furthermore, no matter where the Soul Master fires the orb from, its starting position will always be above our head, which makes dodging it a breeze. Just dash underneath the oncoming orb and it'll disappear into the ground no problem. He likes to do this attack several times in a row, but he won't always. I recommend remaining relentlessly on his tail while he does this attack. By dashing towards him, you'll both be dodging the orbs and getting in position to strike. The Soul Pinwheel is an attack that looks more difficult to dodge than it actually is. The Soul Master will appear to one side of the arena surrounded by 4 orbs. These orbs will not target the knight, but will instead rotate around the Soul Master as he crosses the stage. When he reaches the far side, he will launch the orbs back across, maintaining their pinwheel formation. This is easily the most complicated attack we've seen so far, but all you really need to know is that the direction the orbs rotate is based on which side of the arena his attack starts on. Clockwise on the right, counter on the left. This means that the orbs closer to the ground will always be moving towards you as long as you're in front of him. This ensures that there's no safe spots to stay grounded while he sweeps across, especially not the corners. But all you need to do is jump at the right time to let 1 or 2 pass safely beneath you. I recommend getting in a cheeky little upward slash here, both for the damage and to keep yourself from bumping your head on him. On the orb's way back, there will always be a huge blind spot right here in the center of the stage, and this is the perfect time to use some soul, either to heal or launch a Vengeful Spirit after him. The dash is as simple as it gets, fairly similar to some other dash maneuvers that we've already seen, but this attack is a lot slower. That can actually make it a little tough to safely jump over, since you might end up just landing on him, but that's nothing the Nail Pogo can't help. The biggest threat this attack poses is how similar it looks to his Soul Orb attack on startup. Mind you that the dash can only begin in one of the corners, whereas the Soul Orb can begin from just about anywhere. The best defense against this complication is to just assume that he's going to dash whenever he spawns in a corner, and give him his space in these instances. Finally, we have the Desolate Dive. He'll crash down from directly above, landing with a burst and sending out shockwaves in either direction. This attack definitely makes things difficult, as it looks like it has 3 separate elements to avoid. However, that flashy burst that he does where he lands has no hitbox, so that's one less thing to worry about. You essentially have to dash in order to clear the landing, and have to jump in order to clear the shockwaves. On its own, that's not so bad, but the Soul Master has a second variety of this attack that's just flat out rude. He can do a fake out and immediately followed up with a repositioned dive. It seems that which variety of this he does is essentially random, but in my own experience, he always seems more likely to do this if you jump up too close to him before he finishes the first slam. I honestly have no idea if that's something that's in his code or not, it's just what I've noticed. More importantly, this is extremely difficult to react to if you're already in the air. My only recommendation is to focus on dodging while grounded until after he's landed, and only then jump up to avoid the shockwaves. Don't even worry about hitting him while he does this, just dodge. Our game plan here is a little easier said than done, but this is the kind of boss that you want to just wail on relentlessly. Pursue him with dashes and let loose with your nail whenever he's not attacking. Since he's staggerable, this playstyle is generally rewarded, as you'll always have time to heal when he's stunned. Keep up the pressure while he's using his Soul Orb attack, and keep getting in what attacks you can during the Soul Pinwheel and the dash. Only let up when you see him wind up a Desolate Dive. This is yet another fight where you'll want to return to the center of the stage when you're not attacking, as his sporadic teleports can place him anywhere on stage, and if you're off-center, he could wind up off-screen and send an attack at you that you're not prepared for. Now let's show this guy who the real master is.
This boss, more than anything else, absolutely whooped me up and down this rooftop my very first time playing through this game. He throws so many different things at you, he's teleporting all around, he just looks insane, feels crazy to fight. But I've since overcome that. He is no longer an obstacle to me. I'm going to just take him down and wreak my vengeance on behalf of my past self. Done and dusted.
Surprise! Second phase! After wearing down his first health bar of 275 HP, he'll come at you with all his desperation. Now with 110 HP remaining, he can no longer be staggered and will only use 2 attacks. The Desolate Deluge and the Soul Storm. The Deluge will see him use a modified version of the Desolate Dive 4 to 7 times in a row. These slams home in on the knight slightly, making them more difficult to dodge, but they don't have shockwaves. Furthermore, this explosion on the landing has a way smaller hitbox than it looks like. Much like the Desolate Dive, I recommend dashing to the side and jumping just before he lands in order to avoid the widest part of the hitbox. However, since this attack doesn't have any shockwaves, it is still a lot easier to get some hits on him during this attack should you feel so bold. Here's how it goes. Dash away when you see him appear. Then, as soon as he starts crashing down, turn around, jump, and slash. You can tell he's getting hit because of these orange splashes. Not necessary, but definitely possible. Stay alert though, because this attack also has a fake out variant. This is still less threatening because of the lack of shockwaves, but dangerous nonetheless. Whether you're attacking or dodging, midair or grounded, all you have to do is dash away in response to the repositioning, and you'll be just fine. His other attack, the Soul Storm, is going to be a much better opportunity to deal some damage. He'll use a modified version of his Soul Orb attack 3 or 4 times in a row. The differences here are that he doesn't move or teleport while the orbs are firing, but the starting positions of the orbs still do. This makes for a tricky conundrum, dealing damage versus dodging orbs. Obviously you want to deal damage because apart from the risky hits on his dives, this is still your only chance. But dodging orbs is still very necessary. If dodging them were all that mattered, this would be effortless. Just run towards their starting positions and lure them into the ground. The issue is, you want to deal with them as fast as possible to get back on the offensive. I recommend dashing liberally to get this done. More than anything, I would recommend you do not risk healing at any point. Focus your time and efforts on closing out the fight and heal when it's over. Even still, bear in mind that patience is key. If you don't feel safe attacking at any given moment, just hold back. You're so close to the end of the fight. Don't get reckless, and finish strong.
This guy is just relentless. He is not going down so easily. But that phase does not have much health at all. We get the achievement Illumination for defeating him. And claim our prize. The Desolate Dive. Tap B while holding down to strike the earth with a burst of power. Spells will deplete soul. Replenish soul by striking enemies. We get our second spell. We already had this one, but now we have this really cool ground pound attack, and I cannot wait to make use of it. It also opens up a great deal of the world, as we will see next episode. In the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been a pleasure. But if you dare to like this video, just know that I will peek into your dreams with my brand new dream nail. Nothing shall be hidden from me. See you guys next time.